tonight on the live stream. We're here to talk about amateur snooker. And we are going to be speaking to several top amateur snooker players over the next time period, or whatever it may be, how long ever it takes. We're going to be talking about Q School. We're going to be talking about the Challenge Tour. And we're going to be talking to the most important people who are involved in all of this, and that is the players. And that's the whole reason why we're doing this evening. We're here to get the players' views and opinions on how they feel about the situation with amateur snooker, about the Challenge Tour, and about Q School, and about anything else that they want to touch on. And that's why we're here. So what I want to do first of all is I'm going to introduce you guys to a gentleman called Michael Waring. Michael is responsible for Snooker Hub UK, and he is responsible for that amateur snooker group on there. And he's actually one of the reasons why I've set up this snooker page, Pro Am Snooker UK, and he's one of the reasons why I run events for you too. It's his sort of streams and information pages that have pushed me to do what I'm doing. So I'm just going to bring him on here and introduce you. Hi, Michael.
Hi, David.
All right.
Still, can you see me properly?
Yeah, I can see you all right. You want to maybe try and come a little bit closer?
I don't want to scare you too much.
You're all right. There seems to be, you're in black and white, which is probably okay because it makes you much better looking than you usually are.
I've not cut my hair either.
Yes, well, nobody can cut their hair. I mean, I'm the only person here that's got any common sense. As you can see, I can shave my head. I don't have to pay 20 quid for a barber.
I was as bald as you at the start of lockdown.
Well, look, that looks like a come over to me, Paul. Anyway, Michael, thanks for joining us. I think most of the guys probably know you. Probably not to look at, but they know your Snooker Hub platform, which is a very good information website and Facebook page. And you've got quite a lot of followers, which is good too. So lots of information about events and so on. But as I say, we're going to get each of you on here to talk about the amateur game. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you pretty much the same stuff as I'm going to ask the players as they come on.
Okay.
And that is, where are we in amateur snooker, and what are your thoughts on EPSB, Challenge Tour, and Q School?
All of it in one go.
Go ahead, mate.
Well, I do firmly believe that there's a fundamental problem with amateur snooker in England. Much as like when you do a jigsaw, you put maybe the corner pieces in and you put the framework in and you build it in. At the minute, there is no framework to amateur snooker in England. What a lot of people seem to forget, actually, that it's world snooker, WPBSA, whatever. It's not England. It's a world game, and there's too English focused, if you like, at the minute. So what we've got at the minute is the WPBSA running the entire amateur snooker scene, and amateur snooker should be separate from the professional game. There maybe should be a connection through stuff like that you're doing and the EPSB are doing, in that there should be some kind of framework for people to progress from amateur to professional. But not everybody wants to do that. Some maybe just want to play snooker, some just want to earn money. But there's thousands and thousands of people play snooker week in, week out who don't play any tournaments. And the league snooker seems to get forgotten. County snooker is growing a bit. It's growing decent, I think. It could grow even more. But the WPBSA controlling everything, to my mind, isn't right. And you've got the EPSB, which is claiming to be the national governing body for snooker in England, but there's no actual English snooker representation on that at all anymore. Since the EASB folded, which I'll hold my hand up, I was part of the EASB, and I was quite happy for the EASB to fold because it was well-meaning, well-intentioned, but underfunded and overworked set of volunteers, and it can't happen like that. You look around at all other sports and it just doesn't happen like that. It's just not a bunch of well-meaning volunteers who haven't got the time or the expertise to do it. There was just a few of us there, and we just couldn't do it. So I was quite happy for the EPSB to take over, but when I think I was wrong in that. The EPSB isn't the right organisation to do it. The EPSB is an umbrella organisation that consists of it's the English Partnership for Snooker and Billiards. There's not actually a billiards representative on the board at the minute. There's women, and there's disability members. Well, not a disability member. There's who is it? Simon Beresford, who's on the board of WDBS, but he's not disabled himself, if you like. So Chris Hornby is on the WDBS, I think, as well. Nigel Moore, he's I don't know how you pronounce his surname actually. You know, apologies if I get it wrong. Moore, I can't pronounce that. But they're not actually disabled players. There's no disabled player, but the disability, the women's, where do they fit into English snooker, as in like the amateurs, the amateur game? They don't contribute to that at all. The women don't even, have nothing, the women, I'm quite, I'm a big supporter of the women's game, but why do they not take part? I don't know why they don't take part in the English amateur tour and things like that. The English ladies, the women, or whatever. I don't understand why they don't play with that in the English setup, if you like. I don't get that at all. And people claim, want them to be professional. Well, they, just earn it. They go in, Rhian and Onyi, they go into the Q school, but they don't make it. Fair enough. Like a lot of amateurs, they don't make it. So these people who cry out for wildcards, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with the wildcards. I believe in everybody should be able to make it. So you look at Challenge Tour and Q School. I actually hate Q School as it is now. I call it the X Factor. It's just anybody can walk in off the street and pick up a cue, pay £1,000 just to play snooker, and it's an insult to professionals who just come off the tour. They must be devastated just coming off the tour, trying to earn their way back onto it, and the first thing that they're faced with is playing somebody who doesn't even know which end of a cue, to shot, and just because they want to put a waistcoat on and play with referees and play against people, and just because they've got £1,000 in their back pocket, it's just an insult to these professionals.
How do we fix all this, Michael? I mean, how do we sort all this out? We keep getting complaints about EPSB and formats, and one of the main things I think is the funding. If you look at a lot of the other amateur sports, they'll have maybe say like a charitable trust, where a charitable trust for English snooker, say, could get money in from legacies, from grants, from all kinds of various places, and dish that money out accordingly. As a proper charity, and this is how things like tennis and things like that operate. They have a charitable trust, and that's where the money goes into. So the sponsorship money, the legacy money, the grants, donations, all go into a charitable trust, and people like whoever is the national governing body would apply to the trust for money for various projects, or even, as it used to be, whole sport funding. Doesn't seem to be much in the way of whole sport funding these days. Everything's project based. So there's a different way. It needs to be
financed better. You shouldn't have all these lads trying to earn their way through amateur snooker, paying £80 to play in an English amateur tour event, working their way up to getting a nomination to play in Europe. They go and pay their own ticket over to play in Europe, and one, maybe two of them then get a pro ticket out of it, like Ivy Chandler did. That's not the right way. They shouldn't be. It shouldn't be costing so much. There's lots of lads who are priced out of it, completely priced out of it. Really good amateur snooker players who just look at it and think, I can't afford to do that. So why not have some kind of better structure in England, instead of thinking it's a world thing? Have an English amateur tour, like there used to be an English amateur tour, and there still is an English amateur tour, but not many of the top pros don't want to engage with the EPSB because they still the legacy of the EASB. It's still like they still think it's Blazers, and Barry Hearn just he just came out with that term recently, saying that amateur snooker is run by Blazers. It's not been run by Blazers for years, not at all. I was part of the EASB setup, and there's no Blazers there, I can assure you. There was like me, there was Rob Spencer, Steve Starkey, John Hartley, Sally Hughes, Jeff Robinson. Not a Blazer amongst them. I mean, Steve Starkey probably wore a blazer because he was a referee, like Rob Spencer does. He was, but they're not these old guys who sit around, saying, no, we can't have it. We're not having these changes. We're not, don't change our system. This is how we've done it for donkey's years, and it's not been like that at all. Not the last, certainly not in the last 5 years. It's not been like that at all.
Sounds to me, Michael, like there's an awful lot of people involved here, maybe too many, and I think to have English snooker as one separate unit and have Scottish snooker, Welsh snooker, rather than having one national amateur tour, which is an option. I mean, it just sounds like a very complicated situation. It sounds like something that's going to be very, very difficult to repair or put together.
Well, at the minute, if you look around the world and you take every nation who plays snooker, Scotland, Wales, Republic of Ireland, even Northern Ireland, Germany, Belgium, everywhere, every single country that plays snooker, except England, England is the only one that doesn't run itself. England is the only country that hasn't got an separate English governing body. It's run by the WPPSA. They might all be English people, but they're all world. They're all part of a world organisation: World Disability, World Women's, World Billiards, WPPSA. The EPSB is controlled by the WPPSA. The memorandum says that the chairman has to be from the WPPSA. The WPPSA have to have 2 representatives on the board. The EPSB has never followed their own guidelines and saying that there should be 3 independent directors. They've never had that. They've only ever had the 5 or 6 different directors. 5, I think it is, maybe 6.
Sounds very messy. It sounds like a very messy situation, and I think maybe if they have a little listen to this, and some of the players who are going to come on very shortly, they can look at the whole platform, the whole formula, and maybe rethink a lot of things. Guys, just to let you know, if you're some of you are queuing up on the stream, I feel like a checkout boy here. You're all at the bottom of the screen waiting to get on. Guys, come off the stream, and then I'll give you. I'll just sort of say, join me. Sean, Ben, blah blah blah. Peter, if you could just come off the screen, because you're. I can hear you talking to yourselves. You're muttering in the background there, and I can't mute you all. I can't cut the sound on you, so just come off the stream and then I'll give you a little shout on here. And then come back in again, and then I'll bring you in. So there's about 6 of you on there, but if you could just take yourselves off for a few minutes and have a look at the stream, then I will I'll cue you on in that respects. All right then, Michael. So just to finish off here, mate, what do you think is the way forward, Michael? What do you think that WPPS should look at in terms? I mean, they are a part of World Snooker, and what do they need to do?
Well, the English amateur scene probably needs the WPBSA as far as input for advice and everything like that. That's not a problem. They do some fantastic work with the EPSB, but the EPSB shouldn't be the ones that control it. So they've got to relinquish that. They've got to say, we need to help England set up a national governing body. Yep. I don't think Sport England will ever recognise EPSB as the national governing body because it's a world setup. It's not an English setup. So why should Sport England give any money to a world setup? It just doesn't sit right with me. No. That doesn't fit. So the WPBSA should maybe say, okay, well, we know what we need to do, but it needs to be done by a separate entity, and if we need to put some money in to start with, then yeah, Barry Earn says we need a good English amateur setup. Yeah, we do. So maybe we should put some money in, like they used to do a bit ago. They walked away a few years ago, said there's 30 grand. Let's leave you to it. Maybe they should do that again, something like that. Say, let's pay somebody, because you can't have a bunch of volunteers running this thing. They've got to be proper people, professional people, paid people that run the business properly. And maybe WPBSA can advise, be there for the legalities, for the advice, but not to actually be the controlling factor. They should be allowing the, whatever it is, English snooker again, let's say, call it, to run properly and finance it. And then once that's done, they maybe look at a different funding option, get some money out of Sport England or whatever, but I would definitely set up a trust, a charitable trust, where you could go to businesses and they would be saying, rather than going and saying, can English snooker have some money, it's a charitable trust, and that charitable trust would be answerable to the charity commission, rather than answering to nobody except the members. That's what I would do. It's the framework, first of all. The WPBSA need to accept that they shouldn't be in control of English amateur snooker, and I can't see them accepting that. But that's what it needs to be, and it should be funded completely differently. Not expect the players to fund it. It should be funded from somewhere else, be it charitable donations or whatever. But you can't expect all the money to come from the players.
Michael, that's a very interesting point of view, and I'm pretty sure that's shared by many of the players. It'll be no surprise to me if it's shared by many of the organisers that are involved, EPSB also. So I'm kind of hoping that obviously what you've said is on here, goes on YouTube, and a lot of players are just about to come on literally in a second. I'll have the same views on that, Mate, listen, I'm going to get some players on here. Thanks very much for joining us, Michael.
Well, I'll still be here listening. So don't slag me off.
No problem. I'll never cut you off, mate. I mean, I like that black and white image of you there.
I was born in black and white, you see.
Yeah, it takes a few years off you. I mean, you might need a haircut, but I know there's no barbers open at the moment, mate, but I'm trying to enjoy my coffee here. That comb over is killing me,
I don't think I look bad for 35, do I?
I'm not saying any more. Right, guys, I'm going to bring in the first player here. We're going to bring in a well-known professional, actually. He's been in the business for a little while. Just join us here now. We've got Oh, got you back on again. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm sick of looking at you. Hi, I'm Duffy. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, mate. All right.
Yeah, good to have you on here, mate. This is not a Q&A, so I'm not going to go through your profile. And, I think we all know who you are. We all know you've been on the tour for quite a long time, mate. And we also know that you dropped off the tour like many players have done. And we know that you're on the Challenge Tour and you have every intention of getting back on again. So basically, I'm going to hit you with the same sort of question here and hitting everybody else with. I want to know where we are in your view in the amateur snooker game. And I want to know what your views are on the Challenge Tour and also Q School.
Yeah, I'll start with Challenge Tour. I find it's very hard to motivate yourself for that the actual events, playing in obviously snooker clubs, obviously finding your own accommodation, and sometimes you're in middle of nowhere, can't really get a taxi or whatever. But one thing I want to know is why we can't play at venues on practice tables. If you were talking about obviously improving it, I mean, there's practice tables free sometimes of the day, or even at the end of a tournament, we could do it in probably a day. So I don't understand why, obviously, we can't play there. But I find it tough. It's tough for a lot of players. I mean, I work part-time as well, so I'm not doing many hours as I should be. So obviously, sometimes I'm turning up to tournaments, I'm thinking, how am I going to play, Mm-hmm. And obviously, you're playing against players who sometimes playing every day. You're playing on big pockets. I know it's the same for everybody, but you don't know what conditions you're going to expect.
No, that's a difficult one. I think a lot of players like yourself who are on the tour actually still have to work. They have jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know what the proportion is. I would imagine you probably have a better idea than I do, but I'm pretty sure that the guys who are not making a living or have some form of profession or have some kind of work, and it is difficult for them to go to the venues. And yes, just touching on the tables, yes, it is a big problem. I'm pretty sure that World Snooker have a problem getting venues for the Challenge Tour. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We've all seen that, and they're sort of like, that's one of the reasons why they have the formats that they have. The best of fives, and with the players' order of merit the way it is, and with the players selected the way they are. Is there any way? Do you think there's any way that the Challenge Tour format can be improved for players?
That's a tough one, that. I think it could be, in a way. I mean, I prefer, well, obviously living in Sheffield, I prefer it at the Ponds Forge, or it's hard because they're playing it in venues where there's swimming baths, so the tables are not the best. The air is like really hot, and they play it obviously in the middle of summer. Maybe stagger it, play it in cooler conditions, I don't know, because there's always a break in between every season, but that means they'd have to put tournaments back. So it's a difficult one. I find that, I think a lot of players will say this, I think if you're on the tour, that's all they care about. I'm not putting it bluntly, I don't want to be getting slagged off for this, but that's how I feel anyway. Like when you're travelling as a pro, it feels good, you get looked after, obviously free hotels and stuff, but I find when you're amateur, you've got to like really fight and fight back sort of thing, and like try and prove a point. Because like being on the tour to coming off, it's like a reality check.
Absolutely. I mean, I watched a wee bit of you at Q School there last time out, and I could see the frustration in your face. I mean, it's very tough, and the players. I mean, you win your first 2 or 3 matches, and you always look like getting close. Really, you always. I mean, anybody who's first trying to get on the tour comes up against any ex-professional knows they've got a bit of a job on their hands. But the pros also know that the lower ranked ones who have come off the tour, there's a lot of pressure to get back on as well, because some of them expect to get on.
Yeah,
and some of them did get on. Quite often they do, because they're still got a high standard. But I mean, in those conditions at Q School weren't great there last year before, their conditioning wasn't there. Tables and setup are okay, and obviously there was a lot of snooker and it was staggered. It was okay from that respect. But I think World Snooker have a tough job, like setting it up. I mean, I'm not kissing anybody's ass or anything here, but I think it's difficult to expand on it. But I mean, obviously, you're going to be going back to Q school with the intentions of getting back on the tour again. You apprehensive about anything? Is there anything concerning you in that regards?
Well, we've got that playoff at end of season. Got a chance of getting back on that, from the top 8 on the challenge
Right.
tour.
Yep.
But I don't really know. It's like you'd have to ask me a week before. But I know it's in Sheffield, obviously, this year. Well, we don't know when it is, obviously, with what's going off at the minute. But I'll be up for it. I've got a little boy now, so obviously anything I really do snooker wise is for him. But it's tough. It's really, really tough to like balance life and snooker when you're not on the tour.
Do you think Q School is pretty fair format, good format? Do you think it's okay?
I like the format. I really do. You got obviously a match, and then maybe a day off, and obviously when it comes to the thicker end, you play morning and afternoon or morning and night, and I like that. Because obviously, I've never really played well there. I've always had to scrap through matches, or I'll have a bit of luck or whatever. But I've never really flown there, and I see players flying, and I'm thinking, how's this possible? I played a Chinese kid last year, that Sai Junji. I think he's on the tour, and he was just a machine. And it's like they're coming here with no pressure. And obviously, some of the English lads who've been on and know all about it, they're like, God, I'd love to be like that, just coming here, no pressure. But you obviously can put a bit more pressure on yourself, and that's probably what beats you in the end.
A lot of younger players who are coming in now are psychologically ready. They come in, it's incredible what they're pulling off, really, coming in with very little pressure. It's a big part of the game also, mate, in that regards. So what about the Challenge Tour format, best of fives, in terms and in terms of what it's offering the amateurs? Do you not think it should be opened up a bit and given a greater scope for amateurs to come in and play, or do you think it should stay selected?
I know it's open to European events. I think anybody can enter those, can't they? Obviously,
yeah.
The UK events, it's just whoever's in the 64.
That's right.
I think it's tough playing the best of 5 on like unexpected conditions, and I always seem to start slowing them anyway. But like the last event we played at Leicester, we played at I can't remember about it. We're in Leicester, but the tables were good. I managed to play a couple of games on a star table. I ended up winning the event, but I put it down to my brain more than anything. Instead of obviously thinking, this opponent's like not as good as, or you can respect them sort of stuff, because obviously you think, I'm going to win this, and players can play well. Everybody on that top 64 is capable of beating anybody.
Absolutely.
That's what Barry loves. He loves a bit of fun, doesn't he?
Well, I think that the format is what it is, best of 5s, but a lot of players are uncomfortable with it. But it's at least they've got that, if nothing else,
At least they've got the opportunity to play in it, and have obviously win it or get in the top 8, and then try and obviously some players dream to obviously turn pro, and they've got that chance to get in the top 8.
So just remind me now, Adam, you're in the playoffs now, are you, for the challenge to get back on? Is that right? So you've done quite well. I know I had a little look through some of the rankings there. It's getting on there. So look, Mason, thanks very much for joining us, mate.
No problem.
And giving us some views on that. Just a little bit of feedback from most of the players. I want to try and get through everybody here. A bit of a stream, but keep listening.
Will do. And
we'll get you commenced straight. So Stuart or Ben, do you want to join the stream, guys? And we will, have a little chat with you. We haven't got on there for that one. Let's out of the way there. Off that one, cut it off. Yeah, so interesting view there from Adam. Obviously a tour player for so long. Just giving us a very realistic perspective there of what it's like with the conditions and what have you referred to. But obviously, if you're not on the tour, you don't expect conditions to be the same in that regard. So, Stuart or Ben, you want to come onto the stream? Stuart or Ben? Here we are. We got Stuart coming on now. Good to hear. It's always nice to have the older gentleman joining us because here he is. Hey, Stuart, thanks for joining us. I know that. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I've got you.
You can hear me, okay. All right. So we just had a chat with Adam Duffy there. And Adam was just reflecting on his experience there at Q School last season and what have you. But I know that I'm not sure whether you're going to be entering Q School this time round, Stuart. Will you be playing at Q School this year?
Well, yeah, all being well, but obviously, who knows when it's going to be? But my intentions are, to playing Q School this year. Yeah, so all being well.
Well, hopefully it will come upon. So anyway, look, we're here just to talk about amateur snooker and Q School on a challenge tour. What are your views on amateur snooker at the moment in terms of what's on offer to them and what they can do? And also, what are your views on the challenge tour and Q School formats?
It's quite a difficult one, really, because, listening to Michael's, what he was saying about the ASB, the EPSB now, the old ASB. That's non-existent, because, you can go to events, you up and down the country. When you get there and the tournaments, they're just basically there's little money involved, and if you win the tournament, eventually at the end of it all you get to play the Europeans and whatever. But that's more expensive as well, going to the Europeans, and it's all money, and usually there's like one spot available, one spot a year. So it's just crazy, really, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know how that can be improved. I heard through the grapevine that this year the EPSB have took over now, and they were going to improve all that. As far as I know, I can see a couple of improvements straight away, from the start of it this year, but I just don't know what they're going to do. But there you go.
Do you think the players really need to take a look at the cost effectiveness of the kind of competitions they're playing in? The challenge tour is what it is. The dates are down there. You're either on the tour or you aren't. If that's not an option for you, the other option is Q School. Do you want to save up £1,000 and you've got it. That's it. So look, there's two opportunities there, and if you want to play in pro-ams, you can test the water a bit with pro-ams. That's a very clear sort of perspective on what the options are. But what do you think the authorities or they need to do to improve it?
Well, I think Q School, to be honest, I think like Duffy said, I think it's quite, the setup's pretty much, okay, to be honest, it's best of sevens, playing in, good conditions. But the only thing I've got against Q School, and it seems to be happening year in, year out. All the good players seem to be playing each other first round, and the lesser players seem to be drawing each other. And I mean, there was a guy last year. I don't know his name, but apparently he was into the 4th round before he picked his queue up. So, he's in the 4th round and he's got 12 points straight away, and he's more as guaranteed challenge tour from that.
Order merit.
And it seems to be happening year in, year out, for me. But as far as the conditions are concerned and the format, I can't really, see how you can really, do anything to beat that. But so yeah, maybe a live draw, that might be difficult because obviously there's a lot of players, but it just seems to be happening every year where all the the good players play each other. And my draw last year was absolutely horrendous. It's I'm playing every tournament I play players that have just come off the tour. And I know you got to beat everyone who's playing in front of you. I'll get all that, but you just need sometimes. If you can have one decent where you can get your hand into the tournament, But but the format and everything, I've got no problem with. But the challenge tour, I think, best of 5s, I think, needs to go. You're paying, £1,000 to go into Q school. You finish in the top 64, so you go into the challenge tour. And I think you should be playing best of 7s. I think it should be tournament best of 5s. It's just a lottery, they're playing in snooker clubs, and anyone can beat anyone. Anyone can beat anyone on the tables that we play on because I'll get it the same for both players.
I'm pretty sure that the best of 5 and the restricted numbers and what have you, the order of merit is really a business decision, more than likely a business decision based on cost and format and basically all around cost of setting the whole thing up has probably got a lot to do with it too. But in terms of challenge tour, do you not think that possibly, this is what I'm trying to get out of players, do you not think with the challenge tour that perhaps they should maybe open it up a little bit and create more opportunities and maybe take away what they're doing with EPSB and other events and maybe throw it all in the challenge tour and maybe look for better venues and make it more cost effective for players to play in? Do you not think that's a...
Yeah. The first year, sorry, not this year, the year last year, they played all these challenge tour events, the qualifiers. Mm-hmm. So they played on all the best tables. Mm-hmm. And I know I've heard through some of the lads, it was great. They couldn't really expect anything more than that, as far as, playing conditions are concerned. And then they go and completely transform it to playing the next challenge tour in snooker clubs up and down all over Europe. They've gone from one extreme to the next.
Interesting.
It's quite crazy, right? But listen, Barry Earn's got his own ideas, and you go into Q school, you finish in the top 64, so you've earned your right to play on the challenge tour, and I believe that's your reward, for getting the top 64 at Q school. Now, 2 years ago, they were going down that Q school list to like 198, and it was just, because of no one turning up to the tournaments. Mm-hmm. There definitely need to be some changes somewhere along the line. It's. I remember Pontins from years ago. It was an absolutely unbelievable setup. It was played over the week. It was 10 events during the year. Best of 7s, and the best players got through on merit. I understand if you scrap Q school, which I have heard people say, why don't they scrap Q school and do another format? But obviously Barry Earn, gets a lot of revenue from Q school, so just keep Q School, but maybe do something like that for an old Ponting style thing where for the Challenge Tour. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. Do you not think that basically players have options here, and they can use those options? They can go to Q School, they can play in a few pro-ams, test their ability to see if they're ready, sign up for Q School, go through Q School, get on the order of merit. All right, it's a bit of a difficult one, maybe looking at the cost of travelling and what have you and where you're going to play. Obviously, you're not going to be playing on great tables everywhere you go, as much as World Snooker do cover the tables, to that extent in the clubs for the Challenge Tour events. I'm thinking an expansion and an improvement on the Challenge Tour is pretty much the only thing that's left here to get the amateur game to give it a good kick. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much scope for improvement. It's unbelievable. You just need, it's like Michael said about, the WPBSA seem to be running everything, and I think the grassroots, you need a few people that, maybe are away from WPBSA just to get the rates together and just say, this is how we're going to do it, and because there's not many that's coming through, because there's just not many chances to do it.
So do you think maybe another organisation running the Challenge Tour, perhaps, or an organisation running amateur snooker?
Yeah, just maybe just a few new heads, and just to see how it goes, just try it out, because it's the same thing happening every year, it's constantly the same thing. But the Q School thing, like I say, I really believe, if you go to Q School, finish in the top 64, you've earned your place on the Challenge Tour. You've earned your place by right. But then just you need to get that Challenge Tour then in great conditions, because you've paid £1,000, you've played your arse off to get there. So you want to play in good conditions, maybe not referees, but just good conditions. Like the first year where they're playing all the qualifiers after the qualifying events. There's no argument there. No players can moan. You can't have. You're playing each other in the best conditions. And the best one's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, last year, the Challenge Tour was absolutely crazy, to be honest with you. Some of the conditions were.
That's an interesting point of view. Conditions a few of the players have met on. Stu, I'm going to let you go and bring in Ben Hancorn. Thanks very much, Stuart, for joining us.
Okay.
And we'll
cheers, Dave.
Take it easy, buddy. Okay, we're going to bring in Ben here. There he goes, coming on here. Can you hear me, Ben? You there, Ben? How you doing, bud? You all right? I'm just going to mute you. Hang on a second, mate. Apologies, that's my fault, mate. I cut the sound off on you there. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you good. The only thing is, I'm trying to work out how this is all going to be. Just about. It's I'm having trouble with the feed. Yeah.
Okay, listen, I can see you and hear you, so don't worry too much about what you can see. I think the most important thing is your good point of view, mate. So let me just refer you. There's a wee bit of sound in the background there, Ben.
I'll move away.
Yep. That's a wee bit better. Can you hear me all right?
Better? Yeah, all good.
That's much better. So yeah, we're talking about amateur snooker, Ben. We're talking about Q School, and we're touching on the Challenge Tour. So give us your views on all of those things.
Well, I'm with the other guys. The amateur game to me is sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place at the moment. I think something needs to be done. As regards, I think it needs some fresh heads. As regards what Stuart just said. It's a bit of a tricky one, really, because I think it's a case of people are trying their best as regards like the EPSB taking over from the ASB. They've tried to do what they can, but I don't think they're given the tools to do what they want to do. It's one of those. Players going on to the Q School thing as well. To me, Q School is, as just to reiterate what the other guys said as well. I totally agree with it. It's just a funding for the powers that be, but there's you're not really getting the players that are good enough getting through. It's a bit of a tricky one, really. Regarding the Challenge Tour, I think the Challenge Tour on the first year was great. As regards the second year, it went a bit downhill. But I will say, I've been in this game a long time, and it's the same as Stu, the same as Adam, and I do believe that even back in the day, during the Swindon Jesters days, when it was the UK Tour, when it was all the other tours as well, the best players do come through. So I will say that the conditions, yes, they're not star tables, and they're not. But the best players, no matter what the scenario, no matter what the conditions, the best players will come through eventually. I will use one player an example. Rory McLeod come off the tour last year. He went to every venue, every seniors event, every venue. He turned up, rocked up, and he pretty much won everything. So the conditions is not one of those things that I think is a problem. Yes, of course, we'd love to play on star tables. I think we're all a little bit spoilt nowadays. Everyone seems to have a star table, their access of a star table. And I just think that, we're not professionals yet,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'd be lovely to play on these tables, but the access to these tables, they're few and far between to be able to run a tournament, to be able to find the best players, and so what we've got, in fairness, isn't a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about the concept of an amateur tour on its own? Scrap Q School, scrap the Challenge Tour, just have a World Amateur Tour where you have a lot more players going on the tour and a lot more coming off. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think every amateur player on the tour around the world would really appreciate something like that, because just going on the fact that what Stuart said a minute ago, it was a bit funny really at Q School last year with the fact that I'm not sure. I think Stu actually drew Adam Duffy first round on 2 events. I might be wrong, but I think he drew him first round, or maybe one, and I think he drew him second round in the other. And yet you've got players that, without sounding too much, but have got money in their pocket, are entering this tournament with no intentions of doing anything, or having the capabilities to do anything, and yet they're getting to 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, and really they haven't met anybody.
So you think are they preventing other players from getting an opportunity? And
I think the Q School setup is allowing players that aren't of the capabilities that I would say 40 amateurs are capable of, to get further than they should do. I don't think seeding is a possibility, because I think there's just too many players. But I think that there should be some way, i.e., maybe a big Challenge Tour schedule that can let the players, let the cream come to the top. But it's how do we get there?
Yes, it's a very interesting point. That I think it was brought up by McArdle, and it was touched on by Stuart a little bit. I think that I think the whole thing's in a bit of a mess. Really, it's a little bit muddled. There's maybe too many organisations involved. There's too many people involved. Too many bad decisions, and I think the concept of an amateur tour on its own, taking Q School away, wouldn't be a bad idea. I think.
Yeah, I think Q School is great for. I mean, I probably know 20 players around our area that enter it just for the fact that they are entering Q School.
Yeah.
But they're not actually entering to do anything in Q School. They just want to be part of the situation or part of the event. But there's other players, that are. I mean, I'm going to use Adam Duffy for a perfect example. Just one name, and the Stuart, for example, as well. That these players are good enough to challenge, at the moment, the lower end of the pro circuit with a chance of getting on in the pro circuit. But they're not going to be able to do that. They're being held back by draws, and if so my feelings is at the moment, and I hope that some people can sort of see where I'm coming from here, is that it's £1,000 to enter Q School. So it was £1,000 last May when I paid my entry fee. It cost me £3,700 to be at Q School last year. Okay, with no prize money. All right, yeah, the prize is to get on the tour. But these draws can make a big difference in this on Q School. Whereas I would be quite happy spending £5,000 on a challenge tour event over 10 events where you spend your money on hotels, you've got prize money as well, where eventually after those 10 events the cream will come to the top, because you have an option of you have those 10 events where eventually the good players are all going to come through eventually. And then if you had a playoff at the end or whatever they decide to do, or what someone decides to do, it will benefit the players who are the players that want to do it, that want to get on.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. The players have options. I think at least they have that. Some are not cost effective. Some are unrealistic. I think I personally push players to practice and play in competitions that they can afford to play in, local ones. Yeah. And then if you think they're good enough, go to Q School, because you've got 3 opportunities to get on the tour. All right, you need a little bit of luck with a draw too. Nice draw helps. As like Stuart said, you might get a bye or two for some reason or another. That helps too. But ultimately, you're going to face a good player.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
This is not like Blackpool was 30 years ago, where you had 700 snooker players and really only about 150 half-decent players that had a chance of making a living. This is a little bit better. So, yeah. And in those terms, players can organise themselves a little bit better in that respect, don't you think?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I know. I mean, coming back to the.
Hello, Dave. All right.
Who's your partner, Graham? Carry on, Ben.
It's just reiterating on the fact that Q School seems to be a very expensive 2 or 3 weeks, where you've got that in the back of your head that I mean, I took 3 weeks off unpaid last year just to enter Q School. So whereas if you've got that in the back of your mind as well, and you just want to have the opportunity to play something that is going to be beneficial to you as regards, whether it's 10 times a year, even 3 or 4 day tournaments over 10 events, where eventually you can sort of take the financial side out of it, but then obviously you've got the draws that come into it as well, where the best players aren't getting through, and obviously I know that I think the year before last, every pro that came off the tour, apart from one, went back on the tour. But there's a lot of players. There's a lot of players on the amateur tour, on the amateur circuit, that we have this discussion every time the draw comes out for Q School. You know, oh my God, look at your draw. Oh my God, look at your draw. You can see that some players are oh yeah, you've got to beat those players. I understand that, but I just think that if you ran this challenge tour, there's a challenge tour waiting to happen, which could be so good, but no one's grasped it yet.
Mm-hmm. The same thing's happening in the tour itself, mate, in some respects. We've got 128 professionals are all thrown in. That's
the flat draw.
Can you
hear flat draw?
That's right. Can you hear us, Mark? Are you there, Mark? Just lost Mark. I'm trying to get Mark to give his views a little bit there. Let's see if we can find him again. You know what I mean? He's got two streams on you here, mate. Hang on a wee second, Mark. See if we can bring you in. Right. Let's hide
He's
that
in.
one.
He's in.
Now, all of a sudden, I've become a broadcaster. Right. If we've lost him now, we're going to try and get Mark Vincent back in a wee second.
So just going back to it, I think the amateur snooker is crying out for a granite good challenge tour, even UK tour, whatever you want to call it a UK tour, call it whatever you want, but get these amateurs playing in big events. I'm not even going to say that we should push the great star tables and everything else, because these tables can be recovered. Like I said, it doesn't matter what table you play on, the best players will come through eventually, and it's proven. It's a proven fact. So
I'm just going to bring you in, Mark. What are your views on all of this, mate? Amateur game, Q School Challenge Tour. Do you have any views, any concerns?
I think, in all fairness, obviously I listened to the stuff that Ben was saying. Obviously, I practice with Ben. We always have a little chat about stuff, and a lot of the stuff Ben's touched base on, I probably agree with most of it anyway, because I have the same sort of views as that. I mean, back to when I used to play on the Pios days, I think that was quite a good ranking system. But I mean, Q School is just an absolute. Well, I mean, for a start, it is expensive, and it's hard for people to get 3 weeks off work. I mean, I'm personally a shift worker, so I don't work loads of days. I don't work every day. However, for the other guys that are obviously working every day, and it's a lot of holiday to get off. And then with the challenge tour, if you don't get on via the Q School, it's then a lot harder to get extra days off. If somebody's working full time or they only get 20 days a year of holidays, that's 3 weeks swallowed up. So you're only playing for 3 weeks of the year in some respects. So I think a lot has to change, really.
No, that's good views. Look, guys, I know you two are quite local in a sense. Both of you reside in the Bristol area, and you come on down and play, and you're both interested in Q School. And well done to you earlier on there, Ben. The year we played some good snooker in the end. You came down, and I think you've hit the mark again. Good luck with that, Mark. You've got a free entry coming. But thanks for joining us, boys. I'm going to bring in some more chaps. And thanks very much, Ben.
Cheers, mate.
Much, Mark.
Cheers, Dave. See you, mate.
Bring it in. Who we got? We got lovely. Who we got coming in here? Cheers, buddy. Right. Okay. So, hang on there, mate. We're coming in a wee second. Right. A little bit of sound in the background.
Can you hear me, mate?
Broadcasting is a very hard job. I wish somebody could I could just sit here and look at pieces of paper. Anyway. Okay, Patrick Whelan. Thanks for joining us, mate.
How are you getting on? All right.
All right, mate. Good. Have you listened to some of that? What are your views on amateur snooker, the Challenge Tour, and Q School?
To be honest, I thought the Challenge Tour was the best set of ranking events I've played in since I've been playing. 10 events, 4 in Europe, 6 in the UK. You can't sort of argue with the prize money either, because you're getting paid per round. So if you win a match, you're on money. And then if you do well as well, you're getting paid well. Mm-hmm. Over 10 events as well, the better players do come out. So I thought it was brilliant, the Challenge Tour.
Do you not think it should be opened up a bit more scope, better format, best of 7?
Do you mean sort of opened up as in more entries, like more than 64, or do you mean opens up like best of 7s through to maybe a longer
well,
format?
open it up.
Semis?
Open it up or get rid of it. Get rid of it and have a proper amateur tour where you have maybe, 16 players going on and off the tour. You've got a proper amateur tour. Get rid of Q School. Get rid of Challenge Tour. Have an amateur tour where you have a lot of competition, a lot of great opportunities to go up or down. I mean, is that not an idea?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's an idea. I just play to whatever the tournaments that are set. So if it stays the same, whatever, like whether it's main tour, Challenge Tour, EPSB, whatever, you just got to go there and get on with it. Really, you can't sit there and wish that there was this, wish that there was that, because at the end of the day, if there wasn't much difference between, like I've heard a lot of people saying about venues and stuff, like some of the venues that we were playing in the Challenge Tour, yeah, they weren't the best and stuff like that, but at the same time, that should be a motivation to turn professional, because if you had decent money, like if you had more prize money, referees, good tables, you're playing out of venues, what's the difference, and what's the difference between turning professional and not turning professional? That's why you've got to sort of look at it as like a stepping stone. Like, I don't look at the amateurs as a thing that's going to be there forever. I look at it as like, this is my sort of apprenticeship to get onto the professional circuit and then go from there. Not looking at it as like, oh, I wish it was like this and I wish it was like that, because I don't have too many plans of staying on it for much longer. I'm trying to get on the pro circuit every year, and it's going to happen one year and that'll be that.
Any changes they should make for the better? Do you think they should make any changes? What would you like to see?
The only thing is, I was speaking with one of the tournament directors at the Challenge Tour last year. When they go to clubs, they assess the club and they go, yeah, this is like a good enough club to have a Challenge Tour. Like, there's enough tables, like, the atmospheres, blah, blah, blah. And there was a few clubs last year that were like, you couldn't quite get in on your shot. And I think if you've got a bad cloth, or the table lights aren't the best, or, you hear a lot of people moaning about the conditions and stuff, you can sort of, it's an equal playing field. If I play somebody else and we're both on a good table, a bad table, a fast table, or a slow table, it's the same as him as it is for me. So the only thing is, you can't prepare for not being able to get in on your shot. Like, you should actually be able to like get around the table. And obviously I'm not going to name clubs and stuff like that because it'd be disrespectful. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
obviously, they cover the tables.
I can't hear you at the minute, mate. I'm going to come back. Hang on.
Okay. In the meantime, we're going to bring in Jamie McArdle. Can you hear me? I'm going to put you on the volume there, mate. Can you hear me now, Jamie?
Yeah. One sec. Yeah.
All right. I'll bring you back in. Just lost Patrick there for a wee second. We'll just bring you in for a few minutes because I'm going to try and shorten. Looks like you're at a football ground there, mate. Where are you?
No, I'm practicing.
All right. Okay. That's fair enough. That's all right. Anyway, you've listened so far. What are your views on Challenge?
I only literally got on for a few minutes because Sean Maddocks rang me in the middle of it to try and find out how he accesses the stream,
Yes, no, that's okay. What are your views on Challenge Tour and Q School? Do you think we should? Is there any way they can improve it, or is there anything they can do for you lads?
I think the Challenge Tour, obviously I picked up a little bit of what Patrick said towards the end there. Obviously I'm not going to name clubs or, mention, but there were certain places where literally you were sitting on the next table before you took a shot. Yep. Obviously when you went round the other side of the table, there was somebody there, you were literally cornered in, you couldn't get round both sides.
Right.
Obviously there was other venues where we went abroad and, there was sunlight on all the tables because there was no blinds. It was just, obviously one of them was in Germany. Patrick will probably recognise that one.
Mm-hmm. I think you're not going to get the same conditions as you would probably in an event.
No, I mean obviously the first year I spoke to Mark Williams about this, about the we used to play on the back end of events, and himself, along with others, weren't particularly keen on us sharing or using their practice tables. But if you've already spent money putting the tables up at venues at the end of qualifying tour events, then I do think for the sake of what it costs to put 8 new cloths on tables, we should be able to just use the other 2 days to finish off an event for a challenge tour. And I also believe that because it was we qualified for the challenge tour minimum as a best of 7 on Q School, I do think that the challenge tour event should be a best of 7, even if there's no referees.
Yes.
Because I do understand it costs a lot of money to put up referees, expenses, hotels. So I understand why there's no referees, because there's a limited amount of money in it.
Do you agree with that there, Patrick?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Sort of like the tables are there, so why not use them anyway? But again, I think we're a bit too spoiled. Like you shouldn't really be playing out of big venues. I know it's obviously not the same playing in the main room as it is the practice room. I get that, but you're like hanging around all the professionals. You sort of sat in the players' room and stuff like that. You should have to earn that. You should have to sort of like go, I want to be there with all them players. I don't want to be like playing in the practice room. When I played out in the practice room in Riga, like, yeah, the table was brilliant and stuff like that, but it was a bit of a kick, because it's like I'm sort of like there's main arena out there with full, like, loads of people watching great players, and I'm sort of out here playing on their practice tables in and around them. I feel like I'm gonna come out of clubs and like earn my way up there. I don't want to be like hanging around, like, you know what I'm trying to say. You should have to.
I do sort of get that. It's a valid point. Having said that, obviously, if we play on the tables where the events are over and there's no pros there, then we're not technically interacting with them.
I get that, because like the Paul Hunter Classic, when that was finished, the first year of the Challenge Tour, everyone went over after the pros.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's fine, because it's sort of like you've got the arena to yourself, but I just think you've got to earn things if you want them. If you.
No, I agree. I agree with that. There's one. The downside of that is, though, obviously we're trying to get on the main tour, and if you're playing on, and again, I'm not going to name clubs, but if you're playing on tables and venues where new cloth are not on the day, where literally some people can get lost and the pockets are that big, it's counterproductive when you do get on the tour, because you're sort of playing catch up because you've been playing on such inferior conditions.
Yeah, no, I get that. But again, I just always think that if you put the greats in the challenge tours, they'd still come through. Like if you put Mark Selby, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Judd Trump, you name them, if you put them in any of the conditions, they'd still come through, because at the end of the day, if you're good enough, you'll make it. But that's what I'm saying about the clubs where.
No, that part I agree with, but ultimately there's 2 or 3 or 4 really good clubs in England where literally, like say Northern Snooker, Star Academy, or why can't the tournaments that are in England be in those venues?
Yeah, I've said it for quite a while now that Northern Snooker is probably one of the best clubs, if not the best club in England, and whenever there's a tournament there, you're rubbing your hands, because you know what you're going to get. It's a good club, and it's run well, and like the tables are always playing good, so you know what you're going to get. I've gone again here. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, literally, can you hear me? Dave, are you there? Hello?
Can hear you, buddy. Yep, carry on.
Can you hear me, yeah?
Yep, carry on. I've just lost that.
Patrick. Yeah, literally, I do think, even when you look at the challenge tour and the amount of money that's in it, I do think that because it's counterproductive in terms of costs for a lot of players who especially don't have a sponsor, after so many events, if they can't physically get up the rankings to justify playing in enough of them to get a playoff spot at least, compared to last year, for example, when there was only 2 places, the interest died off after 5-6 events. I mean, I went to Latvia. There was 21 entries. 21 entries. People were on money before they even get off the plane. It's you know.
Very good point there, Jamie. The cost of traveling.
Massively. I mean, you go to a European event, Dave, before you've hit a ball, you're down 500 quid, and that's literally eating pot noodles in your room. You know what I mean?
They need to sit down, and the organisers, if they're going to make any changes, any big changes, they need to. I think if they are ever going to think of creating one platform or one amateur platform, they have to look at the costs.
Absolutely.
I mean, on the players.
We certainly don't warrant having the same type of money to play for that, is anywhere near close to the I'm not suggesting that at all, but ultimately, for you just to break even on a trip, you're having to get to the semis just to make it cost effective. And like I said, if you don't have a sponsor and you're paying household bills, it becomes very, very difficult to maintain.
This is going to be a big challenge, I think, really, for amateur snooker. To be absolutely honest, I mean, this is going to be a huge challenge if any changes are going to be made, because obviously cost effectiveness of entering an event. A lot of these guys will have full-time jobs.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. I do, and I still play and everything.
And this is why options, Jamie, are better than nothing. This is perhaps maybe the options are there. You can choose to play in Q school. Come in there.
This is what I said. I agree with what Patrick was saying about you've got to earn your place on the main tour. But at the same time, there is 60-70% of that challenge tour, or even players on Q school, don't have a sponsor. They find ends to meet very difficult. Obviously.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of more. I'm just going to bring in Wayne Townsend, guys.
All right, Wayne.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from what I can see in the game, there's certainly enough money in the game to bring more than 10 grand in over 64 players per event. You there, Wayne?
Got no sound.
Can you hear me, Dave? Dave? Hello?
I can't see nothing.
Here, guys.
Hello?
Yeah, yep. Can you hear me, boys?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah, I can hear you all right there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Dave?
I can hear the three of you, yeah. I think we're going to do... Jamie, I'm going to say goodbye to you because you're you're getting on my nerves. And no, mate, thank you very much. I'm going to try and shorten the time frame a wee bit, guys, or we'll be here all night. But
absolutely, no worries,
Jamie, your input was valuable, mate. Thank you very much. And
no worries, Dave.
I'm going to be
Take care of yourself.
down here with some lads, mate. All right, thanks for joining us. Take it easy. Okay, buddy, take it easy. Bye. My best. Hi, Wayne. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to bring in Peter there for a second. Peter,
work it out, Dave. You need a master's degree to sort this out.
I know, that's okay. That's all right. Listen, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Anyway, you've obviously been listening to what's been going on.
Yeah.
So what are your views, mate? Challenge Tour, Q School, whole format. Do we scrap the lot, start all over again, or do we carry on? Where are we?
Yeah, I've been off Q School. I don't like that setup at all. It's just a giant pressure oven, isn't it? It's the lottery as well. The draw plays a massive part. Plus, three events, best of sevens, is ridiculous. It's very expensive. You've got no prize money. I mean, Challenge Tour's all right. I think it's a good setup. I don't mind it. I thought a good value as well. It was. But I think the simple solution for Challenge Tour is to give more tour spots. I just don't understand why. I don't understand why they can't take an event off Q School to go back to two events, 600 quid, because they used to do that,
and then use the 4 spots off the 3rd event, and put them on the Challenge Tour. And that's like, then you'd be like top 5, top 6.
Yeah, that's an option.
And then with the Challenge Tour, they could go top 5 in the rankings, and then they use the other tour spot for like a playoff system from like, say, number 6 to 14, and then there's loads of value in it.
Yep. Yeah, that does seem to have some value. It does add a little bit of value to it. Peter, can you hear us all right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay. What's your
Wayne? It's been so long.
It's my best
Just
friend.
follow that up. There, Peter, what are your views on everything we've been on about here? If you can emphasize on Challenge Tour, Q School, whatever you want to start. Well,
oh, God. Well, you've got to ask me something, otherwise I'll have no way.
Okay. Well, everybody's got a different view of the way we can change the Challenge Tour, and the way we can change Q School. Let's start off. What are your views of the Challenge Tour? The format, can it be improved?
Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have said similar things, because in general, we are always going to agree. Have you gone, Dave, or are you still there? You've disappeared.
It's just me and you, Pete, now.
Oh, right. Let's have a proper gossip.
No, just carry on, mate. I'm coming off the screen so I can let you speak.
Right.
This is your moment of fame.
I
You're
see.
Famous. Keep it going.
Right. I've been on it 2 years. I think there's only been 2 years of it. The first year I thought was really, really good. I thought it was a really good tour. As far as I can remember, there were 6 Challenge Tour events that were in venues, like straight after the pros finished the tournament, and the other 4 were in clubs. And them clubs were pretty decent. I think one was Sheffield, one was Gloucester, so we can't really complain about Sheffield, Gloucester and all that. Maybe Leeds as well. This year, it's not been the same. They've obviously moved them all to clubs. For convenience for the players, it's been awful, because I've travelled to the Netherlands, got a coach to Belgium, and stayed in basically a forest, and then had to travel taxi journeys to get to the venue. The venue was okay, but it's a hell of a lot of expenditure for best of 5 matches. And the conditions, a lot of the tables are nice. They might run nice, but they have got massive pockets, and it is making, a lot.
But you shouldn't miss them, Peter.
Exactly. Well, I shouldn't miss. They shouldn't miss. No one should miss. But
well, there you go. Pockets mean nothing.
They're definitely big, you shouldn't miss. They're definitely creating a lot more toss of a coin matches. I've had one match where I've played really well. I had 3 big breaks, going into the next match feeling good. Then they've had 3 big breaks, and although anything can happen, anyone can beat anyone, but I do feel like on the sort of previous season, when we were on a lot of the match conditions, you won't be getting so many big breaks. You'll be getting a lot more closer matches. You'll be getting a lot more, likely score lines. I think it's a lot more difficult to dominate when you're playing on them kind of conditions. And I do think best of 7s are in order, and I think it's easily possible to put them in. English Amateur Tour do best of 7s, and they managed to do a 64-man event over 2 days. So why can the Challenge Tour not do that? I think it's pretty much the same conditions, and I do feel like on the Challenge Tour as well, with so many people just quit after a few events and stop playing them. And when I was in the junior days on the the Premier Junior Tour, there was a competitive spirit, because every time you went, it was always the same people there. And where each other is, you're 20th, you're near the top, I want to challenge for your place. And it was always the same people, because, we were kids, we wanted to play in every event we could, and we were always there. In the Challenge Tour, that's not happening. You get the same top lot, but every event's got a hell of a load of different people in it. And it doesn't really feel like, the elite players. So I do think to combat that, perhaps, instead of 50 quid per event, make it 500 quid to enter all 10 events in one go.
That's a different sort of option there. You want to follow on that, Wayne?
Once you get to the later stages and you can't get through, you're in the events. You don't have to play them, but you've paid them. You've committed that you're going to spend a season on the Challenge Tour. And,
I think they should open up the Challenge Tour. It shouldn't be top 64, because that in my opinion, a lot of them rankings can be a novelty. If you get hard draws in that Q School, you get free pros who come off the tour in all 3 events and say, there's a couple of players I knew lost 4-3 all first rounds, but played really well, and then lost to a pro come off. unlucky, and he's bottom of the rankings at Q School, and he's like, you know, and you think it's not really elite. I disagree. Robin Holding, I don't think got in the 64. Yeah, how can you say he ain't? You know, like Leo Fernandez, you know, and players like that. There's loads. If you go down that ranking list, there's loads of players who didn't get in that 64, are more probably better than most of the 64. So
Why don't we just scrap it? Why don't we just scrap Q School? Get rid of the Challenge Tour and have an amateur tour.
Yeah, definitely.
Throw them all in and have 16 players go up and 16 players go down.
Yeah, that's what the Piles tour was like that. The
one
Piles
season
tour
tour card.
wasn't it?
Do we need to change? Do we need to change all this, guys? Do we need to revamp it completely?
Yeah, I'd get rid of Q School, definitely, yeah. But, you know, it's a money spinner, isn't it? I can't see it changing, but who knows? You never know.
Yeah, Q School will never go.
Nah, I can't see it.
And as well as that, you know, I've heard the seeding argument, but you can't really seed Q School.
It's hard, yeah. I can't see how they can seed that, yeah.
You know, you've got, for example,
unless all the pros who come off, put them in that all of them are all in the second round. But, you know, the thing is with that Q School, you get buys, walkovers. You've only got to get. There was a player, I can't remember, he got a buy and then he got a walkover. He's in round 4, he ain't hit a ball. That's ridiculous. Well, he'd be in the Challenge Tour. He's on the Challenge Tour now. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. Like,
the issue with seeding is definitely that, you know, you can have your people who are ex-pro that dropped off. But then what about the people who were ex-pro the year before? And then you got, Ben Hancorn, English amateur champion, he's the national champion. Brilliant. So he should be seeded because he's the English national champion. But then what about Sri Krishna Suryanarayanan, who's the Indian national champion? And then, you know, you saying that England isn't as good as India, blah, blah, blah. Then you've got to seed every national champion. And there's plenty of countries where the national champion's no good.
Yeah, true.
And
yeah,
then the seeding
I do
just turns
agree. Yeah.
into a mess.
You can't seed it. It can't work. It can't.
I do think a very fair thing with Q School ranking system is I've got Peter Devlin plays Wayne Townsend first round. If I win, I get 4 points. If you win, you get 4 points. You go through. Simple as. That's what it is now.
Yeah.
But if you're playing Ben in the first round,
and
the winner of that plays me, I've just had a bye. I've got a free 4 points.
Yeah.
I shouldn't get them 3-4 points.
Well, and then also, starting round 2, wasn't it? A lot of players started in round 2,
so
didn't they?
I've started in round 2, and I'm playing the winner of you and Ben.
Yeah.
You've just beat Ben, now you're playing me. I don't get no points. I'm still on 0. And if you beat me, I stay on 0 because I ain't won a match. But if I beat you, I get 8 because I'm now in round 3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's silly. So you're banking on so much luck at Q School. If I started in round 2 in all 3 events, I've got 12 frames. I've got 12 points without hitting a ball. But massive.
Really, you should only get them points if you win the first match.
Like if you're just looking, that's right. Yeah.
Because
good points, lads. Very, very good points. Just before you carry on there, guys, you want to join the stream? Some of you players there can trying to connect. A couple of you can try and come on. First come, first serve. So just try and join the stream. As I'm not a professional broadcaster yet, but I'm trying very hard. But yes, no, your points are very valid. They're actually about the pointing formats. You know,
they use that in the Pro Tour actually, Dave. I think, as far as I'm aware, someone, let's say for example in the Crucible, if Ronnie turns up first round, he's automatically on 20 grand. You know, for being in the first round. But he doesn't get them ranking points. If he wins his first match, then he gets the ranking points for 30 grand or whatever it is. But if he doesn't win his first match, he doesn't get them ranking points. So if you've got a bye, them 4 points should be sort of banked away. And then if you win your next match, then you get them banked away points, but you don't get them if you don't win the first match, because then if you get 3 buys and you lose all 3 second round matches, you don't get no points because you haven't won a match. So that's definitely the easiest way to combat the bye situation.
So what's the bottom line here, boys? What do we need to do? How do we fix all these problems?
We need Dave Lewis.
You need
the money.
Well, listen, the only way Q School can not happen is if none of us paid our entry fee. Then he has to change it. It's as simple as that. But until that happens, it is not going to get changed.
But everyone will be sneaky and just think, no one's going to enter. I might as well just stick the entry in now when no one's looking.
Everyone has to go on strike.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you're not going to win that one.
The Challenge Tour is great.
Yeah, I like the Challenge Tour. It's good.
I think best of 7s is better because especially when you're making long journeys. Like Llanelli was miles away. I didn't think it was that far away. You know, you're making day-long journeys and then playing a best of 5 and potentially just that's it. So you can make it best of 7s at least, give it more of a feel. I think the venues could definitely be better. I'm not going to say I want star tables and all that because they're not necessarily having to be star tables, but I know for a fact there's better venues around than the ones we've
But they
had.
recloth them though, don't they? Recloth all the tables.
Yeah, they recloth them, which is good.
I mean, that's good enough. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you expecting? I mean, a lot of these, I see all these players moaning about it should be venues and all that. Listen, if you're a proper player, you can play on anything, mate. It's as simple as that. Proper players adapt to anything.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
come
way
back from Gibraltar in March. That was obviously the last time I've played, and that was the first time that was the closest I'd seen to Q School that I've been for ages, and I've played all 10 Challenge Tour events, and what I've played on in Gibraltar was just like Q School, but we haven't had that in Challenge Tours. We've had, obviously they're recloughed and stuff, but they're nothing like that.
Yeah.
But the year before that on the Challenge Tour, it was like every tournament you're going to, you're getting proper conditions, and if you are to benefit on the Challenge Tour and get on the Pro Tour, you'd have at least some sort of, you know, understanding of the tables and understanding of the atmosphere.
But do you not think a lot of these players saying about they want star tables or the best conditions, most of them practice on star tables anyway?
Yeah, I agree.
What makes me laugh? Like, you play on them conditions anyway. Majority of the players who play at Q School, Challenge Tour, all them Challenge Tour players, majority of them play on them conditions anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
I do think that, like, you know, a lot of people are saying, you know, star tables, we need the best venues and stuff, but you know, the pros are playing in them venues, so it's not like they're inaccessible. They are accessible. You know, it's not like we're asking for, you know, them to make venues for us. The venues are already there. All they need is, I mean, they've done it the year before. All they need is just to spare an extra 2 days. Maybe that might cost them a little bit of money, but we're paying our entries. You know, if all 64, like my idea at the start, if we all paid 500 quid at the start of the season to enter all 10 events, 64 players, that's already 32 grand.
Yeah, it's true.
They can afford to, you know, extend the venue for a little bit longer, let the amateurs play the events there, because the Challenge Tour events in the venues last year were better than the ones in the clubs this year. Simple as that, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they do feel more professional. They do feel more serious. You know, it's just overall better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to set of all these. If you paid the 500 quid, you'd definitely play in them all, then, you know? So.
Yeah, and it'd stop all this, I'm not going to enter, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it's so top heavy, you know, 2 grand for the winner, but only 500 quid for the quarter finalist, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't do very well in it this year, but up to event 9, all I had to do was win one event and I'd be in the top 10. You know, it's just nearly everyone who's in that playoff has won an event. I think everyone in the playoff has won an event.
Yeah, yeah.
You could get to 4 quarterfinals, be really consistent, but if you win one event, you're above it.
What about the venues, boys? What can we do to improve the venues and what have you?
Why is Leeds and Sheffield? Oh, Leeds was involved. Sorry, somewhere like Sheffield should be involved. You know, there's academies around. Hungary was brilliant. I don't know why. I don't know why or how the venues are picked, but some of them are just they're not right.
Don't want to mention any names.
Well, we've had. I mean, look. I mean, everyone has had complaints. Brighton's a lovely venue. It was just unfortunate what happened there with the water. But you know, there's some venues where, I mean, what was the one in Belgium? It was someone's house. Or it was someone's garage at the end of a house. And you know, I'd say that, yeah.
Should we be should we be staying in the UK? Is it unfair to not have a couple of events abroad? I mean,
I think we should have events abroad.
Yeah, you got to, because it's unfair on the European players, isn't it? A lot of them. It's not. You got to have some abroad. I must admit, I'm not a fan of it myself, but that's just me being probably selfish. But because it costs a lot more money, and some of them are really expensive. Gee, I mean, what was the was not Gibraltar? Where was it? Latvia or something like that?
There was that one in Belgium where it cost like. Well, it was that one in the forest, wasn't it? You know the club was nice,
so
but it was just so bad to get to. I had to stay in.
To win the Challenge Tour to get your dough back. Like,
absolutely, it was really expensive. I think the European ones quite, suitable to be held in the venues for the European Masters, for the Riga Masters, like they were the first year, because again, they're just convenient.
But they're obviously they don't want to pay them. It's just money. They don't want to pay out. They just put you in the snooker clubs because it's cheaper, isn't it? It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it is growing the clubs. It's growing the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. The clubs don't mind it. They get all their tables recloth. Like,
it's great for them. They get their own set of
huge benefits from that. Huge, massive benefits from that.
And in the bigger picture, it's great for the game to grow it in countries that haven't got it so big. So in that sense, it is very good.
Yeah.
But we're snooker players, and moaning is what we do. So
yeah, of course. Look, we're all going to moan at something, no matter what the system's going to be. But I mean, the problem is with today, a lot of amateurs, they're so spoiled with academies and things like that. They're not schooling. They're not schooled properly, and this is why the amateur game's not nowhere near as good as it used to be. It's just they're too spoiled. I mean, I know players who won't even come to me because I ain't got a star by table to practice on. That's ridiculous. Like, it's just nonsense. I mean, what's that about? You should be learning the game still and practicing. Just because someone ain't got a star table, what does that mean? If he's a good player, it don't matter, does it? I just don't. Yeah, there's plenty out there like that. Not saying new people.
Oh no, I've been to your game. I've seen what it's like.
Come to me.
I'm never coming back again.
Don't worry, it's all right.
We're just waiting for some of the other lads to join. There's a little bit of a problem with the connection. There's I should have got rid of you two about 10 minutes ago, but
all right. No, sorry, Dave.
There's I'm just waiting for some other players to come in. So
okay.
You're actually benefiting everybody by staying around. I mean, if I had a choice, I'd kick you off the tour, but I don't have a choice. You haven't done anything for a while anyway. Oh, here we got one coming in. We've got George. Okay, here he comes. He's coming in there.
The professor.
Yo.
The professor.
George, can you hear us all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Very, very good. Okay. Right. Wayne.
What's the chat about?
Here. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers.
I have to let you go because you are getting on my nerves a wee bit.
That's all right. No worries.
I like you. I'm not going to fall out with you over it, okay? So I'll see you soon, guys. Be good.
You're doing a good job, Dave. See you later.
I know.
See you later. See you
I know. See ya. I know. Hang on a second, George. Let me just get rid of Wayne.
Who else are we getting on? Get Luke Pinches on. Get him on.
Why didn't they do something with their haircuts? What is that all about? What's all these haircuts all about?
I don't know.
Anyway, you need a haircut too. Where is Luke?
I know.
We'll try and get him again. If he could if you can hear me, I'm going to send you the link, and you can join me and George in just a second. George, you've obviously been listening to all of this.
No, I haven't.
Have you not?
No, I haven't. No, I've just joined.
Right, well, you're the only one here that's got any common sense. Right, look, we're talking about amateur snooker. We're talking very seriously about Q School. We're talking about the Challenge Tour. So let's just get your views on all of that. Where are we going here with all of this? What about what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the Challenge Tour or Q School?
Yeah, whatever.
What are your thoughts and how do you think? Go on.
I love the Challenge Tour. I do. I think it's brilliant, the Challenge Tour. The only problem I have with the Challenge Tour is the first day you play 2 matches to get to the last 16. I personally think they've got to change that to 3 matches to get to the quarters, because if you get to the quarters, you're on 500, and then people are guaranteed. That they know they can get a hotel. They're not twitching for a hotel. Then I think that has to be done. Also, some of the clubs, there's just no room around the tables. You're basically sitting on the other tables as well. I think Alex Taubman said that on Barry Pinch's post the other day. I think that's a good point. But other than that, I think it's brilliant. I love playing on the Challenge Tour. I do.
I think the clubs with the tables, look.
As long as they got new cloths and a good set of match balls, I think it's fine, personally.
There's a lot of clubs that we use where the tables are perhaps a little bit, maybe a foot too close together, but they're good tables with that match cloth on them.
Yeah, but I'm only saying that because I'm 6'3".
Yeah, well, same here, mate. If those tables weren't so close together, I'd be winning all the competitions, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a few players say that as well. But yeah, I like the Challenge Tour personally. I like playing on there.
What about the format?
Yeah, I like the format. I know it's short.
Best of fives.
Is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. Maybe they could do sevens, maybe, but they could. Well, if they're doing 2 matches on the first day, you can easily do sevens then. I think I've played before. I finished my first 2 matches by 2:00, and then you got to wait the whole night to come back the next day. You could easily fit two or three best of fives in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about the whole formats? I mean, why not scrap it all? Why not get rid of Q School, get rid of the Challenge Tour, and have an amateur tour, where you have maybe 16 players going up, coming down, out the tour.
Yeah.
What about a bigger turnover? Bigger turnover of players going on and off the tour. What do you think?
Who said it? Who said it? Someone said that they should make it like the top 8 of the Challenge Tour get promoted onto the main tour. But I don't know. I think the format. I like the format of Q School. I do. I like the format. But maybe in the second to last round or the last round, bump it up to best of 11s or best of 15s or something like that. Just It's a massive match that last round. Best of 7 for the last round. I think they've got to bump that up a bit. They could easily do that. Best of 15 or something. But I like Q School. They're good venues as well, proper tables. But you still get amateurs that moan about them.
Well, look, every snooker player is going to moan about something.
Well, everyone. I do.
We're in. I'm not going to blame the players for complaining and moaning about things, but we're in that type of sport where you do complain because it does your head in a little bit.
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, everyone complains. If you say you don't complain, you're a liar.
Absolutely. I think the players are always going to complain about formats.
Yeah,
and I'm sure.
But at the end of the day, we're amateurs, aren't we? We're amateurs. I know we're trying to get on
until you get on the tour, George. Because
I know, but
I mean, half the guys on the tour are really no better than you, mate. You just haven't crossed the line yet. So
I know, but I just think as long as you've got a good set of balls and a decent cloth, I think that's fine. Personally, that's my opinion anyway. That's my opinion.
I think there's lots of ways. What I'm trying to get out of players this evening is I'm trying to get views in which maybe the guys out there can listen and maybe take something on board to see how you all feel, because they can't get you all in one big room and say, hey, what do you want? What do you want to do?
It'll be carnage.
So this is why I'm thinking to myself, there's so many players out there that really, really want to make it.
Here he is.
Desperate to get on there, Junior, can you hear us, Luke?
Yeah, I can hear you, right? Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
he's at his home. I bet he's got a dodgy connection like Barry did the other day.
Probably.
I had Barry on the other day, and that stream was terrible. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, they live in the sticks, Dave. That's what it is.
Nah, yeah.
It's awful. It's bad enough looking at your dad. Never mind a bad stream. I felt like I was speaking to an old man in a nursing home.
Oh, Luke, you're lagging all over the place.
Oh, yeah, well.
Oh, man. We can hear you. We can hear you.
What are you talking about?
Luke, have you been listening? Do you
a little bit, yeah. It's been downloading this app, so I missed the past couple of minutes.
Okay, so what are your concerns on amateur snooker? What are your views on Q School and the Challenge Tour? Is anything we can do to improve it?
Well, I think Q School's all right personally. I think there's too much got to be done about Q School. I'd say the Challenge Tour. It's I like the Challenge Tour, and I think it's been very good. But I think obviously some of the venues this year have been a bit poor. I understand why they hold them abroad as well. I get that. I think that's it's got to be done because the game needs to go sort of global. But overall, I don't think the amateur game. I think it's all right. Really, I think Q School's all right. The Challenge Tour's definitely a good opportunity for amateurs. I think there's good money on good money floating around. £50 to enter. So it's not too bad. But I think they've got to open up the challenge tour. That's another thing. I think it's got to open it up. I think 60 was a bit, you know.
Let me just touch on that, because I get very excited when players agree. You know, both of you got a little bit excited there when with the concept of opening up the challenge tour. Now, this is something that I think is a very, very good option for World Snooker to look at.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
expanding, if they can find a way, maybe to reduce other things that they're doing with EPSB, for example, and maybe, you know, bring some good things together with the challenge tour, create a bigger format, a better platform, better.
Because also with the challenge tour now, you've got to get in the 64 to get in it, and not necessarily the best players are going to get on there.
No, it's not. To be fair, it's not that easy to get in the challenge tour. Just like to be guaranteed to 10 events, it isn't really that easy, because Q School's tough. You know, there are lots of good players at Q School. Yeah,
exactly. You can get 2 pros drop off the tour. They play each other first round. One of them bang her out. They get 2 other tough draws in next, and they're nowhere near in the top 60.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you turn up a Q School. Yeah, you could get 2 players who dropped off a tour and another top amateur. You could win 5 frames and you'll be nowhere near. You know?
I think they've got to open that up. I do. That's a good point. I forgot to say that.
Well, they're going to have. I mean, obviously, hopefully, there'll be some feedback for some of the decision makers from this if they take a look at maybe this on YouTube this time next year.
Yeah.
But no, I think I'm not really kissing anybody's backside here, you know, defending an organization that's responsible for all of you really at the end of the day. But I don't think they have an easy job. You know,
No.
When they created the challenge tour, it had its, it had its teething problems like a lot of things do. I suppose you could say the challenge tour is still it's quite new. So,
yeah, and the thing is, before the challenge tour, we was all complaining that there's nothing to play, but then when it comes along, people are moaning about the format and the clubs it's played in. Well, do you know what I mean? There's 10 events, 10 very good events, top amateurs all up against each other, and they're still complaining.
So maybe perhaps opening that up to everyone, rather than perhaps maybe have a look at do something with the order of merit in terms of letting amateurs enter ranking events. Do you think that they should expand the entry level or the format or the entry format of the challenge tour? Do you think they should expand it from that point of view?
Yeah, I think it should be open. Yeah, I do.
The challenge tour should be open. I think I personally think if you open up the challenge tour, I think you won't get. I don't think you'll get like loads of players. Because the thing about it is, I think you should still have to enter Q School, because obviously Q School's sort of funding the challenge tour. So, say like you're in a Q School and just say anyone who goes in Q School can play in the challenge tour, right? So like, and then I don't think you'll get that many players anyway, because I don't think you'll get like 100 every event. You'll do well, I think.
Yeah, you'd do well. Yeah.
You do well to get 100 every single event, even if you open it up. Because I think
even now after half of the events, it drops down to 40 odd.
Yeah, there's been a few. Yeah.
So yeah,
there's been a few events this year where there's been buys and stuff, and that's but that's just the way it is as well. Because obviously it's hard to get in the playoffs, and then once you know you've got no chance, obviously people won't play, which is fair enough. So.
No. But that should still attract the players though, because it's very good value, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course, it's good value. But obviously, if you're just in it for the tour card, which a lot of players are, and that's fair enough. Then
Yeah.
So what sort of things do you think? I mean, some of the guys who have been coming on here have had some complaints about the setup and the conditions of Q School. Is there any ways there you think that they can improve on facility?
I personally think it's good.
Well, I've only played Q School twice, but it's always been all right when I've been. I think Burton a couple of years ago was quite hot in there, but that was about it really.
Yes, I was there. It was very hot. I think they've learned from that actually, Luke. I think the following year Where was it last year?
Wigan, was it? No, Wigan last year.
Yeah, Wigan was last year.
Last
Yeah.
year, the air
Wigan was good.
conditioning was thrown out a little bit more, and the conditions
Preston?
were bad.
Yeah, Preston as well. Brilliant. Preston, brilliant. I love Preston. Brilliant venue.
But yeah,
I think the venues and the Q score are good. Personally.
Yeah,
I think the conditions are good.
and the table's always been alright. It was just a bit hot that year. I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
that was about it, really. That's all. Yeah, I think Q score conditions have been alright.
They're recovering club tables, and I think it's good of them to do that. But you're always going to get players complaining about the balls and the pockets and the tables, even with the new cloth. This is something I dismiss. I don't like this.
No, what do you expect?
Yeah.
If it is,
Exactly.
as long as in my opinion, as long as you've got a decent, a good cloth and a good set of balls, that's fine. Nothing wrong with it. I think that's good.
Yeah. I think. I mean, some players in Germany were saying that they weren't club balls. I'm not very good at sort of identifying that sort of thing, anyway. But I think they've always been match balls. I think. And they're being reclothed as well. I think there was one venue, I forget which one it was. I'm quite tall anyway, but you're sort of, even if you weren't tall, you're sitting on other tables, which isn't great. I don't think
Tamworth
that's
was bad for that. Tamworth was very
I
bad.
think Tamworth was it. Yeah. I don't think that's too sharp. But they had some good venues as well. They had. I mean, it's the best venue on the sort of calendar. That's a great venue. That is.
What's that?
Everyone's going to go there.
Do you think that maybe World Snooker should be a little bit more careful about the clubs they select? Do you think they should be a little bit more selective, or do they not have any choice?
I don't know who would. I don't know who sort of selects the clubs, and do the clubs that put them forward? I wouldn't really know. But they had some good clubs in there, like Brighton. Unfortunately, got cancelled. But that's a great club. Like Leeds, that's the best club in the country. Leeds. I can't remember any other clubs they've had.
Well, Brighton. It was very unfortunate for Brighton because they had the flood.
The only venue I'd say what was very, very poor was Leicester, Winchester.
Right.
Sorry if you're watching, if they're on here. I've got to be honest.
Why was that, George?
Huh?
Is that because of the tables or what? Was that because of the tables or what?
Well, I personally thought that the lights were so dark, I could hardly see the balls.
Interesting. Yeah. I think
It's a nice club, but
it was a nice club. Yeah, just not.
Do you think that perhaps they should consider using one club for, say, 3 events, or maybe a bigger club? Like, for example, maybe the Northern Snooker Centre, maybe they should use that for 3 or 4 Challenge Tour events.
I think
and
so.
then maybe pick one down south.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't heard one amateur complain about that club.
Nah, yeah, it's a great club. It's the best club in the country, but
yeah,
definitely, I think.
You can't complain about that club.
You can't. No way. I think they could do that, Davey. I think you're right. They could do maybe 3 events there. But obviously, it depends on what the club wants as well, obviously.
That's it,
So we're just waiting for some other guys to join the stream here. For some reason, I'm just having a look through the numbers here. We've got through most of you, but some of you can't actually get on. It's very annoying, this. We're obviously using a webinar here for Facebook because on Facebook you can't have a split screen at the moment. That's why we're using this webinar. That's
a good app.
Link I'm sending you all.
Yeah,
however, if you live in the United States, apparently if you're a subscriber in the United States, you can have split screens and you can even sing songs, which I don't particularly want any of you to start singing to me for any reason. But I'm not even sure how long we've been on here. I think we've been on here about 2 hours nearly, which is okay. So I'm just going to give it a wee bit more time.
Yeah.
So anyway, where do you see yourselves? Guys, what are your plans? I mean, obviously we're all on lockdown at the moment and there's not very much we can do.
Well, Luke's fine. He's got a table in his back garden. He's banging the hours in he is.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky, yeah.
But what about Q School? Are you looking forward to Q School in that respect? again?
Yeah, I think.
I'm looking forward to every tournament personally. Go on, Luke.
Yeah, no, I think I want to get back on the challenge tour again. Well, whatever the criteria is going to be, I just want to get back on the challenge tour. Really, that's gonna be my aim. Really, it's got to be sort of realistic, if you like. Just try and get back on there. You know, because Q School's very tough. It's getting tougher year by year. So
yeah.
Do you think the numbers has the number of entries for the challenge tour has that decreased a little bit?
The what?
Number of entries.
The entries.
The number of entries for the challenge tour. I think it does after a few events.
Yeah,
it definitely goes down after a few events.
I think
the first 2 or 3 events I think are pretty full, and then after 4, 5, 6, 7 the girls, which is down to 40.
I think last year they might have had less entries because I think there was a lot of buys, like loads of buys last year, even in England. I think this year they got more entries. I think. I could be wrong, but from what I sort of remember, I think they've had more entries this year. Obviously, the ones abroad get less sometimes as well, but that's just because it costs more to go out there. So you'll get But
I think the clubs abroad have been brilliant. The venues there, especially in Budapest.
Yeah, Hungary's brilliant. Yeah, Hungary's really good.
Yeah.
And
interesting. Just going back to Q School for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got Mark coming on at last. Somebody's worked it out. Just going back to Q School. Just going back to Q School for a second before we take your off, guys. Do you think the numbers? Some of the guys were talking about the players. They were talking about players who were entering Q School who shouldn't really be there. So
yeah.
These are perhaps guys who just going to mute somebody here in 1 second. They're just coming along for the experience to make the numbers up. Who paid £1,000? They know they're not going to go on the tour. They've no intentions of going on the tour. Are they preventing numbers from coming in, or are they helping you all? Or all right, we'll have a look at the draw. What are your views on that?
I say let them all in. I do. Let as many numpties in as you fucking possibly can.
Yeah.
They're obviously Keiko, aren't they? They're obviously minted. They just fancy it. They just
if they want to
like the game.
If they want to pay the money, they can pay the money. They obviously love the game.
The thing with that I don't like is that it must have been 2 or 3 years ago. It was in Burton. I think Barry just dropped off the tour or a year after, and he was playing Adam Duffy in the first round.
Yeah.
And the next table literally were 2 people who could not score 8. They were sweating to score 8, and I was like, get me a bucket. I'm going to be sick.
Yeah, I was there with you. Yeah, that one.
Barry playing. Yeah, you got Barry playing Duffy, and then 2 flipping numpties on the next table can't even hold a cue.
Yeah, I suppose that's not good. But if they're going to pay them, you can't stop them from coming in, can you? There's no real.
You can't. But then that's where people say you can. How do you seed it if you want it to be seeded?
Yeah. I suppose Q schools could be seeded. It just depends. It's just complicated on how, really, isn't it? So
how you do it.
Yeah. So you could maybe see it off the challenge tour, but I don't really know. It would be tough to see it, I think.
Right, guys, I'm going to get rid of you because you're getting on my nerves a wee bit. Okay, so good to see the both of you.
Yeah, you too,
mate.
We're going to get out of this mess hopefully very soon.
Hopefully,
where some of you can at least get back on the table and with maybe
for the first 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be picking balls out for you, Luke. Don't worry, mate.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
You'll be another fifth ones, huh?
Cheers, Dave.
Right, George, Luke, thanks very much.
Nice one, no worries.
See you soon. Take it easy, guys, okay? All right, just waiting for a couple of players to join us. We've got, here we go. Here we go. Come on, Luke's right on. Mark, are you there? Can you hear me? Mark Lloyd? Mark, if you can hear me, try and join the stream again. And we'll get you on there. Just waiting for Sean Maddocks to join us and Mark Lloyd. And then we'll probably wrap it up after that because the other 4 players are having a bit of trouble joining us. It's the older fellas, actually, the ones that are not very good with the software, So we're just carrying on. So yes, we've had hopefully what we've heard so far has given us a bit of an insight into what the players think, and how they feel about the future, and hopefully it's helped everybody because, guys, this broadcast here is not to really have a go at anybody. It's not to pick at anybody who are not any organization that is perhaps doing something wrong. It's just a voice where upon organizations like World Snooker can listen to you and maybe take on board some of your ideas or your concerns, rather than get you all in a big room and under a Q&A. Mark, are you there? Can you hear me? Right, I can't get you on a visual, but have a little look on your screen there. You might have a video button that you need to click.
I haven't got a clue, mate, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, I mean, look, this is okay because I know you're not very good looking. So it might be better if we don't see you.
We can't all be as good looking as you, mate. It's all right.
Let's just try. We'll hang on a little second here. If we can't get you on the screen, then we'll just do it. We'll do it on a voice. Bit strange, actually. Let me see if I can change this in some way here. So yeah, have a little look at your camera. Are you not getting anything on the screen at all there, Mark? Anything at all?
Only on mine, mate.
All right. Okay. Well, we're not going to worry too much about the visual. So if you've listened to a little bit about what's going on, so we're talking about amateur snooker. We're talking about the Challenge Tour. We're talking about Q School. What are your concerns and your thoughts?
I'm pretty much with every other player, I think. I mean, the snooker players themselves, I think they all pretty much want the same thing out of the game. Those who actually aspire to be professionals, that is. I think everybody is happy that the conditions are just what they are, as long as you actually have a half-decent cloth and half-decent balls and stuff like that. I think that is pretty much the key. But the biggest problem seems to be the money side of things, and I think that's where the problem lies. Okay. I don't think it's the club. I think it's the cost of everything, and there's not been there's only a select few that actually get through to the pro circuit, and obviously Q School isn't seeded and stuff like that, and it's difficult. But the biggest problem, I personally think, is the money side of things. So.
I mean, there's lots of things. I suppose there's lots of things that World Snooker could consider in terms of changing the entry format for getting on the tour. I mean, I think they do have concerns about players' costs, which is why they're given options. There's lots of options. You can EPSB events are there. You're not going to get a tour card really. Europeans, yes, you will. Yeah, Challenge Tour, yes. Perhaps it's not big enough. A lot of players have been saying Challenge Tour, perhaps it's not big enough. There's not enough players on that platform to get on the tour. So maybe that should be expanded, and more players should come from the Challenge Tour. Q School seems to be okay. It's pretty tough. It's much improved from the old days.
Yeah, it's very cutthroat though, and I think, I mean, there's all with us snooker players. There's always going to be problems, no matter who you are, whether you're at the higher end or the lower end. There's always going to be some sort of problem because, quite frankly, not everybody can be pleased, and I think World Snooker just needs to go with an overall majority on what sort of people are happy and what sort of players are coming through, and are these players actually capable of becoming a pro and staying there? And then that also leads to the money as well, because obviously you need to fund your travel, you need to fund your accommodation, and I think this is why the players aren't happy. It's simply because of the financial side of things being a struggle for players, really.
Yeah, it is expensive. I mean, Q School's £1,000, and then perhaps it could be as much as another £1,000 in accommodation and transport.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
3 weeks off work.
It is tough. it is tough. But I think, I mean, obviously being at the stage I'm in now, along with the other players that have been on this stream, I feel as though we are being given the opportunities to actually get on the tour. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, in my opinion, such as the Europeans, such as the WSF that happened in Malta this year that Ashley Hugo won. I personally think there are more opportunities than ever to actually get on that pro circuit. Obviously, with Q School and Challenge Tour, I forgot to mention. So I think the opportunities are there. I think it's just the funding side of things. I think that's where the problem is.
From a personal perspective, Mark, what choices did you make this year in terms of entering competitions because of funding?
Well, I personally felt as though I just wanted to do the ones that were best for me. I mean, obviously funding as well. I mean, I know there's obviously luckier players and there's obviously a lot unluckier players than myself on the financial background. But from my personal experience, I mean, I'd love to even enter your comps more often, but it's the travel up there, and then it's just a long-winded process that you just need to spend, and it's tough, and that's the reason why I can pretty much just do the ones that are closer to me because they're the most beneficial.
Yes, very, very good points, mate. I think that is something I think that maybe World Snooker needs to look at in terms of making decisions about events and changing things is the funding. I think you're right. Yes, I just want to get Sean on there. Coming on there. Just get you in, Sean. Be second there, mate. Let's bring you on board here. Can you still hear us, Mark? Yeah.
Yes, mate. Yeah.
Sean Maddocks, can you hear me? Okay, bud.
Hi, Dave. You all right?
You all right, mate? Yeah. No, I've just got I've got an invisible Mark Lloyd in the middle there. You know, you can't see him, but and you've frozen. Are you there, Sean? I'll get you on the screen. Can you hear me? Okay.
Can't hear anything you're saying.
You don't hear me? Hang on a second. Let's see if we can do something with this, man. Have a look at your video settings there, Sean. I'll tell you what. See, the next time I do this, Mark, I'm going to do demos on. I'm going to bring everybody into the studio, which I tried to do, by the way, but no. Some people came in and then disappeared again. Are you still there, Mark? Yeah.
I am, mate. Just stick to your pro-ams instead of your broadcasting.
Yeah, well, running events, the broadcasting live streams is, I don't know where it's a move forward or a step back. Well, nobody can play any quicker at the minute, so this has got to be a positive thing, hasn't it? Well,
it has.
Let's go back to funding because that's very, very important topic. Funding. I think that yes, you're right. Some of the players are fortunate. Some of the players are fortunate to the extent that they have maybe parents or they have sponsors, you know, that can help them with the funding, and that's very important. Can you hear us, Sean? Can you hear me? Okay.
I can now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've just got Mark Lloyd, invisible Mark Lloyd, in the middle here.
Yeah.
And we've been having a wee chat about funding. And for some of the competitions, a lot of you guys have got choices to make, you know, as to whether you're going to go to Q School or try and get on the tour via a different route. And sometimes it does come down to funding, whether you can afford to pay the £1,000 or whether, you know, you're going to try and get a sponsor. It's very, very difficult, very, very tough in snooker. But overall, in terms of Q School and the Challenge Tour, Sean, what are your concerns about it? What are your views on
it? I think the Q School, if you have a good run in the first event or the second event, like if you get to the last day, by the time it comes to the last event, I think you're too tired to really have a chance. And I don't know. I think you've just got to have a good run in the first one or two.
You think it's a bit exhausting, the Q school time frame?
Yeah, because the way it works, you've got to go there and back every day.
Yeah, but you come to one of my pro-arms, you're playing about 5 matches to win £400.
Yeah,
What if you had to play snooker all day from 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night to win a pro-arm in one day? I mean, compared to something like that, do you not think it's a luxury?
No, because I think I played in it last year, and I was playing Chenzi Fan in round 3 at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then
I've just lost. Are you there, Mark? Can you hear us?
Yes, mate.
Yeah, we just lost Sean there. He's sometimes it's the signal. But in the meantime, it's nice to see some of the younger guys coming in there. Let's get you back on there. Right? You're coming back on again there. Sorry, Sean. You just carry on where you were there, mate.
Yeah, I think I played a match anyway first thing in the morning, and I've won. And I was meant to go back on at 4:30 against Barry Pinches, and we didn't end up going back on until 9:30 at night. And we didn't finish till 12:30 in the morning, and I was back on the next day at 10 o'clock. So if you're doing that for like 3 days on the bounce, and you don't get on the tour, you've got to start all over again. But obviously that happens in the pro game. You can't really do nothing about that. I don't think you can do much about that, really.
It can be quite long. It can be quite a long process. Can you still hear us, Mark? All right, aye?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I'm still it.
Yep, it's getting there. So Sean, what would you like to see? What changes would you like to see, mate? What changes would you like to see on there?
I don't know if there might be any in the Q school one, really. I think you've just got to get on. I think if you're going to get on through the Q school, it's got to be in the first event, really.
So you just personally find it a bit tiring, the 3 weeks? Yeah.
A bit like the World Championship is, really, yeah.
And that's just a personal thing? Do you feel as if you don't get through in the first event, do you feel as if you just lost a lot of confidence because you're tired, or what?
Well, just going off last year, really. If you have a look at the players who done well early on, a lot of them ran out of steam. And it's a bit like the World Championship. The way you look at them at the end, and you can just see they're so tired.
So would you prefer it if it was actually spaced over a number of weeks instead of a number of days, or like you go to one event and then after that event is finished, you then prepare for another event maybe a month or two later? What do you think?
Yeah, the way I can only really go off last year, but like I lost in the last round on say Friday, and maybe finished at 4 o'clock, and I was back on in round 1 at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day.
Yeah.
So I had like 12 hours to get ready for a new tournament, and I think that's the only thing really. But that I don't think you can do much about that. Because if you look at it the other way, a lot of players would rather get it over and done with in the 3 weeks.
Lost you there, Sean. I'm sure we'll get you back on. Alex, you want to join us, mate? Sticking a few balls there.
I do agree with Sean in that respect.
Sean back in a wee minute. So what we're doing is I'm going to put the 3 of you on the screen. I know you're not on the screen, Mark, but Alex, we got you on. Alex, you've been listening in a wee bit there, mate. What are your views on amateur snooker, Q School, and the Challenge Tour? Any concerns?
I can't really say much because I haven't done any of it. So,
is there any? I know it's going to be your first Q School, mate, and I'm sure you're looking forward to it because you're ready for it. But you've had a look at you've obviously looked at the amateur snooker game for a while, haven't you? You've looked at what's available, and you've made certain choices. I mean, okay, you could say that maybe my pro-ams were a good tester for you to prepare yourself because you know you're going to play with amateur players. But in terms of the Challenge Tour, in terms of getting on the tour, do you think the platforms at the moment are right? They're good? Are you looking forward to Q School? Do you think the Challenge Tour is good format?
A lot of players have said that Q School is like very like cutthroat, but some players are going on Q School to get through on the tour through Challenge Tour. So I think the Challenge Tour is good personally because you got Q School's only 3 tournaments, and it's all luck of the draw as well. You could have 3 tough draws, whereas Challenge Tour, I'm not sure how many events you've got, but do you know how many events there is in Challenge Tour?
I'm just bringing you back in again, Sean. Sean, just bringing you. Now the 4 of us are on. You can just sort of bounce off each other a wee bit if you can. I know you're invisible there, Mark. As long as you can still hear us, okay?
Yes,
what was your views on that, there, Mark?
Yeah, I think all players are in agreement. If I'm honest, I think the whole amateur game itself is actually very good, but it's mainly the players who need the help in terms of the finances. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to go here, there, and everywhere playing in these comps, but a lot of players can't actually fulfill them. Like, they can't actually put themselves in them positions simply because of money. And I don't think it should come down to that. And I think it should actually come down to the ability rather than the money. But like Sean said, I think Q School could be more spaced out in a way. Because obviously Sean was in that situation himself where he finished a match at like 9 o'clock, I think Sean said. 12 hours later, he's back on. I think something would need to be changed there. Obviously, because Sean's at a disadvantage that way, simply because he's just, well, he's no disrespect, but he's just lost a match and then he's going straight back on. It's just too crammed in my opinion.
Yeah, it's obviously a concern from a lot of the players, that situation, you know, but
that's the only thing about the Q School. Like, they've got the practice tables there. It's a good match arena, and the tables always play all right. But the only thing is, if you lose a game, then you're struggling then, because you can either go out early and you're waiting a week to play, or you can have a good run in the tournament and then you've got to sort of do well next tournament, otherwise you're too tired then. It doesn't matter how like mentally fit you are or what. I think if everyone was to play that, if they got close twice, what's the chances really of getting through the last event?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'm in agreement with that. But as Dave said earlier, I think where you play 5 matches in a day in one pro-am, I think you gear yourself up for that. I think you actually prepare yourself, just like with like the national events, like the Premier Tour or whatever. You know that you're going to be playing a lot of matches if you actually get through these rounds, and it's going to be all in one day. With Q School, you don't know whether you're coming or going. You could get to the final round and be on the next like day in the morning, or you could be waiting a week, just like Sean said. So I think it's all about the preparation side of things in that respect. And I think something needs to be done, like a better schedule of some kind. But I'm not sure how they can do it. That's obviously down to the board as such.
I think,
yeah.
Guys, I mean, I might be a little bit. Obviously, I'm an older snooker player, but and I might be a little bit old-fashioned. But the thing is, I see this, you know, this business of going playing a lot of snooker in one day without a break. I see that as nothing other than a good thing. All right, you're going to get physically drained and tired, but you're going to get pushed to the limits. And I think being pushed to the limits is good because it does it puts a lot of good things inside your game. That's just a personal thing from my perspective. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of you lads come down and play in the pro-ams. You know, I know you two haven't played a lot of my pro-ams because of I know you're too far away. But they're very tough. They're best of sevens, and all right, sometimes you're playing snooker for about 5 or 6 hours, but that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I think.
Would you not rather be tested through a very lengthy period of time to your wits' end? That can't nothing but be a good thing. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think pro-ams and Q school, I don't think you can really compare them because you know what you're playing for in the Q school, and you can put so much pressure on yourself. But with a pro-am, you know there's going to be one next week, or you might have another tournament next week. If you get what I'm saying, like it is good for playing in loads of pro-ams are a lot better for your game, but you can't really compare Q school where you've got to put your whole season into 3 weeks, or like a pro-am where you might have like 12 or 15 a year.
It was the same as the pro game years ago, like with Hendry's time compared to nowadays. Hendry was playing 6 tournaments a year, and he had time to prepare for them tournaments. But nowadays, I mean, you can play in the UK, and then next minute you could be in Cardiff playing the Welsh, and then the next minute you could be in Crawley playing in the English. So there's always time to actually, if you have a bad game, you don't let your head go down. You just get on to the next game. So, yeah, I completely agree with that point that Sean made, if I'm honest. So,
yeah, see, I do like. I think the amateur game is miles better from where it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
it's if you look at even the junior game in England now, there's so many good players coming through. Like if you was to look at like a Premier Tour, you've got to really play well to win them. You know, because it's shorter games.
Oh, well, no, mate, I don't even think I got to the semis that often.
well, like, I think if you look at the international tournaments this year in the juniors, I think in Portugal, everyone from England qualified to at least the 32 or the 16.
Yeah.
I got to 2 international finals and the last round of Q School, and I've never finished top on the Premier Tour after the end of the year. So there's obviously other players who are really good players, and you don't see that in maybe bigger tournaments.
See, with the Premier Tour as well, I mean, I don't know how you feel, Sean, but I felt, I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I mean, I was only playing in it mainly just to keep the match practice in, really. But I thought it was a bit too long-winded for the ones who just wanted to crack on with it. I felt as though, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but I think that it would benefit the newer players, like the ones who had just come up from the regionals.
Yeah.
Loads of game time, and personally, I mean, I can't. I got on there when I was about 13. I sound really old now, but I've been on there for about 7 years, and I felt as though I just needed to crack on with it. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a long-winded process, but I think it's all about maintaining the consistency sort of thing that actually gets you through like a ranking system. So I think the amateur game is actually very good in terms of that. It's giving you plenty of match practice, but there needs to be, I think there's just something in between, like Q School and the pro-am. I don't really know, but the amateur game and the junior game maybe need to be revised. And obviously, I personally think that EPSB are doing that. And obviously, with the limited time they have, I think they're doing a decent job, if I'm honest. So,
good enough. Right, lads, I'm actually quite pleased that I'm finishing this off with you two, because you two are actually, you know, Let's see if we get Sean back on there. Sean, yeah, Sean, just hang on a wee second. Just if you just stay there for a second, Sean.
Yeah.
If you keep moving around, I'm going to throw darts at you. Okay.
My signal keeps falling off. I don't know why.
So listen, what I'm saying is I'm very pleased that I'm finishing this off with you two guys because you're both good kids. Well, you are compared to me anyway.
Yeah.
And the both of you have prospects. Sean, you've done really well, mate. You know, I haven't really had an awful lot to chat with you about. You know, we haven't met in person, but
Yeah.
I know you're so far away up there, and it's difficult for you to come down and play in my back-to-back pro-ams. But the thing is, you've proved yourself, kid. You know, you've done very well, and
Yeah.
I think you're a good prospect for the tour, no doubt about it. Mark, you're the same. You know, and you've had a wee taste of joining in the ranking event, you know, at a main event, and you know, I watched you that day. You composed yourself very well. You're a wee bit nervous, but you know, you proved yourself. You know, and I think both of you have done very, very well. And I've got a feeling that the both of you are going to get on the tour. And so anyway, that's enough compliments. I'm going to wrap this up, boys. So hopefully all the stuff that we've got on here, you know, what I'll do is Sean will say goodbye to you, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks
Mark,
a lot
you
for
too,
that.
mate. Thanks for joining the stream,
Thanks.
and it's just nice to finish with you two.
Yeah.
And I'll catch you all soon. You know,
All right. See you.
buddy. Okay, Mark, I'll catch you later. Thanks very much for coming on. All right. So basically, that's it. We'll wrap this up. I'm not sure how long. I've lost track now. I think we've been on for about 2.5 hours. I do apologize because we're missing about 6 players I wanted to come on who are actually quite up there in the challenge tour, and all right, they couldn't join us because of their internet connections or because of this webinar. You know, I'm going to be looking at other webinars. I'm not overly impressed with this one, so I'm going to look at alternatives for getting you all on at various times. So we'll just finish off. We'll wrap it up. So what are we going to do? You know, what's going to happen? Do we open up the challenge tour? Do we create the numbers, have a look and revise everything and keep everybody happy? I don't think there's going to be a situation where you're going to be able to please everybody. I think at the end of the day, having been an events organizer for about 4 years now, with some of the best of you, you know, you can't keep everybody happy. Nobody's ever going to be happy with the tables, with the formats, you know, and have the choice or have the money to enter every single competition. So whether World Snooker decides to look at the challenge tour and try and tweak it a little bit, expand it a little bit, and have a look at your views, which you put on here today, is entirely up to them. I hope they can use this as a tool, you know, to measure that, or whatever changes they want to do, or whether they feel that maybe something like an amateur tour might be better than Q School. But you know, another tour is more money. You know, World Snooker Tour is a business like any other big business. They have to get some revenue through sponsorship and entries. So, you know, there's those things to consider too. It's in a good place. World Snooker is in a fantastic place. It wasn't in a great place 20, 30 years ago, believe me. You know, it is now. You've got 2 or 3 events every month, lots of money, lots of investment. You know, so whether we scrap something or put something else on or whatever changes we make, or we have, you know, it's all going to be a very, very complex thing to do. So thanks very much, everybody. I hope you can use this in the future in order to help you make decisions. We've talked about everything. We've talked about the players' logistics, the costs, the tournaments, Q School, Challenge Tour, everything. I think we've covered as much as possible. And I hope that, you know, this is going to go on YouTube, and I know it's a wee bit long, but, you know, well, has anybody got anything else to do on a lockdown in the middle of the coronavirus? You know, there we go. So I hope this is all useful to you. And as I say, look, send me messages on the Pro-Am Snooker page if you've got any questions about things, anything at all to do with snooker or to do with your game. You can send the questions in. On Sunday, we'll have Joe Swale and Jordan Brown coming on for a Q&A. The Q&A is a hell of a lot easier than this, believe me. Thanks very much for joining me, and I shall see you at the weekend. And I'm hoping to have a Q School Q&A in the coming weeks about ability and players who are pending or thinking about going on, and also a coaching debate on whether it's good for the players and how they find them. And hopefully we're going to try and get Stephen Feeney on to have a chat about sight rate. This is all pending. So keep in touch, and thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you all again soon.